The F1 circus arrived in Shanghai, China's second city, for the second round of the 2017 season, and at the moment it was anyone's guess as to who was going to win the World Championship. Following an eventful Australian Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton was quoted as being very relieved to have fended off the two Ferrari drivers, and he'll be looking to continue his good form this weekend in Shanghai. His new teammate for this season, Bottas, was left scratching his head after a poor strategy from Mercedes in Melbourne, but in practice he was matching Lewis, showing that he does have the pace this season. It was clear that Ferrari were prioritising reliability early on in the season, and a new wear reduction upgrade for the engine was fitted ahead of the race weekend in China, but in terms of pace, there are no new additions to the car, just like the rest of the grid. Michael Schumacher was pleased with his pace in Australia, and he's looking to outrace his teammate Vettel for the first time on Sunday. The pace difference between the two Germans was large on Friday, with Sebastian Vettel around 0.8 of a second quicker than Schumacher, but it was clear that Vettel was prioritising qualifying pace after a poor lap in Melbourne, but only time will tell whether practice would have helped him. So after Friday's running was completed, the talk of the paddock was who was going to take pole on Saturday afternoon. Let's see how the drivers got on.
Qualifying for the Chinese Grand Prix was going to be a tight affair at the sharp end of the grid, with Mercedes and Ferrari both looking strong around Shanghai, but first we are going to take a look at the bottom half of the grid for Sunday's race. Once again, the back row was occupied by the two Sauber drivers. This time it was Ericsson who out-qualified Wehrlein by 1/10 of a second. Just ahead of the Saubers is Stoffel van Dorn, who struggled to keep pace with his teammate Alonso, and Carlos Sainz could only manage 17th place in the Renault, a long way behind Hülkenberg, who made it into the top 10 shootout. Fernando Alonso couldn't make it out of Q1 for the second race running, and he will line up alongside Daniel Ricciardo, who had an engine issue in Q2 which prevented him from running. He will be one to watch on Sunday. Lance Stroll made it into Q2 for the first time and will start 14th alongside the hat of Kevin Magnussen. Magnussen's teammate Grosjean will start just ahead of the Dane in P12, and after a good result in Australia, Esteban Ocon was just 1/10 of a second from making it into Q3 for the first time. So getting into the top 10 shootout now, and as expected it was a very tight affair between Mercedes and Ferrari. Saturday was Mercedes' day though, with Vettel only managing P4 and his teammate Schumacher starting alongside his fellow countryman in P3. Both were less than 2/10 off pole position. So that left Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas to fight it out for pole, and it was Bottas' lucky day. He took pole position by less than 0.03 of a second ahead of Hamilton, and Toto Wolff will be hoping for a 1-2 tomorrow. Max Verstappen was best of the rest in P5, but was over a second behind Bottas' pole time, and another great qualifying from Sergio Perez sees him starting 6th. A good strategy will see him score big points on Sunday. So taking a look at the full top 10, you can see that Massa, Hülkenberg, Gasly and Kvyat round out the top 10, with Toro Rosso being the surprise package of qualifying. So once again, it was lining up to be a great battle at the front. Let's get into the race.
What's up guys, and welcome to another episode of the F1 2017 Schumi career. You guys smashed the likes on the first video, and if once again we can hit 100 likes, I will upload another one next Friday. Yeah, much appreciated with the support. Also, if you could let me know down in the comments whether you liked the little practice report at the start, whether I should make it longer, shorter, maybe bring in another commentator, any sort of feedback, just leave it down in the comments, as well as your thoughts on this series in general. But now it is time to get in to the Chinese Grand Prix, and as you heard from Matt in the qualifying report, yeah, it was a decent session for Ferrari, but not quite good enough to get ahead of the Mercedes, so it's 3rd and 4th this time, and Valtteri Bottas in fact taking pole position, so a very good lap from him. But you may be able to see that Schumacher is on the soft tyres, because in Q2 he did what Vettel did in Australia and qualified on the harder compound, so it's possible for him to do the one-stop strategy unlike the rest of the front runners. So it is going to be an interesting Chinese Grand Prix. But now we go to the 5 red lights for the Chinese Grand Prix here in Shanghai, and away we go. It's a good start from Lewis Hamilton by the looks of it. Bottas gets a little bit bogged down, as does Schumacher, obviously on the soft tyres. And going through to turn 1, you can see that Lewis Hamilton has made the move, and then behind, Sebastian Vettel was off the track. So it's been a poor start from Schumacher's teammate. He is right at the back of the field. We'll take a look what happened with him in a minute, but now you can see going off into the distance are the two Mercedes. Looks as if Schumacher is struggling to get temperature into those soft tyres, as now they run down into turn 6. In P4 is Sergio Perez. It's been a great start from him. He's made up 2 positions. It was a good qualifying as it was from the Mexican, but an even better start from the man in the Force India. And now going through the second sector, you can see Schumacher getting a bit out of shape because these tyres are just not up to temperature at the moment. It may change, of course, going later on into the Grand Prix, coming into their own, but we will have to wait and see. And now coming towards the end of the second sector. And yeah, now we're going to take a look at a replay of what happened with Sebastian Vettel. So he made contact with Perez. Perez had a great start as it was, and probably should have yielded should Vettel, but then he got another tap and he just has to reverse around. And it's just an awful, awful start from the German, who falls right to the back on lap 1 and may even have to come into the pit lane. I believe he did have to, in fact, come in at the end of lap 1. But anyway, now we are going on to the end of lap 2. And of course, DRS will be active pretty soon. But it looks as if Lewis Hamilton is going a little bit slowly through the final corner. And now Valtteri Bottas is going to take advantage of that. He has already got past him. So I can confirm that there are major harvesting issues with the ERS on Lewis Hamilton's car. So yeah, Bottas breezes past. And now Schumacher will surely be trying to take a look. Of course, through the corners, Hamilton really not losing that much. But yeah, with the harvesting of the ERS, of course, he's going to be vulnerable towards the end of the straight because he just doesn't have any electrical deployment by the looks of it. And yes, he is slow, and sure enough, going into the corner, Schumacher's going to go down the inside. They go side by side, but Michael Schumacher makes the move stick on lap 3, and he is ahead of Lewis Hamilton up into P2. And it's been an awful start from 2 of the front runners. Hamilton and Vettel have just had awful starts. Of course, Hamilton's not really his fault. And now you can see at the start of lap 4, Sergio Perez is going for the move on the Brit. He has the assistance of DRS, and Sergio Perez, after starting a brilliant P6, is now up into a podium position. Brilliant for the man from Mexico. And yeah, he goes off into the distance, although there is quite a gap now up to Schumacher. So we're now skipping all the way on to lap 7. The sun is out here in Shanghai, and it is very much a 2-horse race up at the front. Schumacher really starting to close in on Valtteri Bottas. There you can see the gap behind to Perez is over 6.5 seconds. But now, of course, Schumacher will have the DRS, and Bottas's super soft tyres will be starting to wear quite considerably now. And going towards the end of the straight, you can see Schumacher closing and closing, but the engine in the back of Bottas's Mercedes just about enough to fend off the Ferrari man. And he tries to take a little bit of a different line there, going into the final corner, but Bottas peels off into the pit lane. So he comes in for his first of 2 stops this afternoon, and it's going to be interesting to see what tyres he fits. So yeah, Schumacher goes off into the lead of this race, and now it's going to be a case of what tyres. It's going to be the super softs once again. So it's going to be 2 super soft stints followed by a soft stint at the end for Bottas, as there you can see plenty of cars going past the pit lane. But now for Schumacher, he's in a little bit of a dilemma because, of course, you know, the likes of Hamilton and Vettel are a long way back, and if Bottas puts in a few good laps on these super soft tyres, then Schumacher would really be leaving himself vulnerable if he was to go for the one-stop strategy. Of course, you know, 2 compounds difference. You know, if he goes onto the mediums, Bottas, of course, will be on the super softs. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see now what strategy the Ferrari guys do choose to go with. As you can see, Romain Grosjean in P2 at the moment, so he's obviously going for the one-stop strategy. But now on to lap 11, the scheduled lap for Schumacher to come in on, and you can see in the bottom corner he has changed to the super soft tyres. So yeah, the Ferrari guys committing to the 2-stop strategy. They do believe that will be quicker. And obviously he won't have to try and fend Bottas off. He will be on the offensive for the rest of the Grand Prix. So yeah, he comes into the pit lane, and of course he's got that soft stint out of the way, meaning now that he has committed to the 2-stopper, it will be 2 super soft stints to the end. Which should give him the edge over Bottas to try and get this race victory. But now coming into the pit box, there you can see the super soft tyres being fitted, a 2.7 second stop. And it'll be interesting now to see, yes, Bottas has already gone past the pit garage. So it was a poor last few laps on those soft tyres from Schumacher and a blistering few laps from Bottas. So yeah, probably a good job he didn't go for those medium tyres because, yeah, with 2 compounds difference, Bottas could have even got an unassailable lead at that stage of the Grand Prix. But now as we look further back at the start of lap 12, that is an engine blowout for Daniel Ricciardo. An awful bit of luck for him, and the safety car is out. So just after Schumacher has pitted, it's looking like it may have been a poor decision to go on to the 2-stop strategy. Because of course that is really going to bunch the field up now. So the likes of Hamilton, Vettel, who may have gone on to different strategies, are really going to be a lot closer to the likes of Bottas and Schumacher. But now you can see in P3, that is Max Verstappen, who is on the medium tyres. So he doesn't have to make another stop this afternoon. And he is right behind the Mercedes and Ferrari of Bottas and Schumi. So, wow, this is going to be a very interesting final half of the Grand Prix. There you can see the likes of Ocon and Grosjean also on the 1-stopper. So, Bottas and Schumacher now on lap 14 as the safety car is coming in. They are going to have to completely bolt away for these next few laps, and they can see prepare to resume racing. And Bottas has just completely bolted. He's left Schumacher completely behind. And now going into the final corner, Schumacher goes through there relatively attackingly. But it just doesn't look as if he's got the pace to keep up with Bottas at the moment. Over half of a second ahead he is at this stage. But as they go into turn 1, you can see Schumacher again not quite getting these tyres up to temperature. It may just be a problem, you know, just inherently with this Ferrari car, that it just struggles to get tyre temperature back. You know, in safety car phases and at the start of Grand Prix. But yeah, Bottas with over a half a second lead at the moment. That Mercedes really starting to hook up at the moment. But yeah, looking further back in the field on lap 16. So we're skipping ahead a couple of laps. And this is where Lewis Hamilton has found himself in this Grand Prix, as has Sebastian Vettel. So they're quite a way back in the back end of the top 10. But they are going 4 wide nearly at the moment. And it's a brilliant move from Sebastian Vettel, but it looks as if Lewis Hamilton's still having issues because he can't get past Stoffel Van Dorn, and Vettel has made a triple overtake on that straight, as one of the Renaults now decides to go into the pit lane, as does the Sauber. But Lewis Hamilton very much struggling in this Grand Prix. There you can see he just can't get past the McLaren of Stoffel Van Dorn at the start of lap 17. But yeah, Sebastian Vettel off into the distance. And now later on in lap 17, you can see the gap between Schumacher and Bottas just isn't really closing up whatsoever. And Bottas, if anything, is just trying to extend that lead. He may be on older tyres, but Schumacher really can't close in. He's got a bit of a tank slapper on there, and he's gone off the track. And he's taken a chunk off his front wing, and there was just a momentary lapse of concentration. And you can just see the understeer that he's getting through that final corner. So as Valtteri Bottas pits, Schumacher might have to do the same on the next lap if the understeer is too much. And you can see going into turn 1, he is going so wide into there because he's lost so much aero from the left-hand side of his front wing. And it's just a lapse of concentration, as I mentioned. And that is such a disappointment for Schumacher. But he's going to try and have to drive as hard as he can on this next lap, so that you know, Bottas doesn't get too much of a lead. So now going through the middle sector, you can see that going through this corner as we go up to high speeds, it's just not looking good whatsoever. And he really hasn't been able to take advantage of this super soft stint. And you'll be able to see there in the bottom corner, the only set of super soft tyres that he's got left is a used set. So it's going to be difficult to charge down Bottas in these final 10 laps. But Max Verstappen as well isn't even too far behind. He's only about 3 seconds behind Schumacher, and he doesn't have to stop for the rest of the Grand Prix. So as Schumacher goes into the pit lane, it looks as if he may have waved goodbye to the victory by not committing to the one stop as Pascal Wehrlein is now out of the Grand Prix. And I believe we now have a virtual safety car active. Yes, we do. So that may play into Schumacher's hands, although he does, of course, have to replace that front wing of his. You know, just losing too much aero on that one extra lap. So, yeah, he's dropping down the field into the back end of the top 10. There is Valtteri Bottas, so he is on the soft tyres, in fact. Oh, yes, of course he was, because he's done 2 super soft stints. That is very stupid of me. But nonetheless, Schumacher has committed to the super soft tyres, so he does have that one compound advantage. But he's managed to find himself behind Lewis Hamilton, and he's down in P11. Hamilton going very, very slowly as the virtual safety car is ending. So Schumacher trying to make a move now on the 2015 World Champion. But he goes around the outside. Is he going to be able to make a move? No, he isn't, because Alonso is in the way. And it is just incredible how slow that McLaren Honda is travelling. And it is just painful for Schumacher at the moment to have to follow these two guys. But yeah, 10 laps left, and once again he's chipped a bit of his front wing off. Hamilton going so slowly through that middle sector. Maybe a bit of impatience on Schumacher's part, but still, braking in the middle of that section is just not something that you tend to see. And yeah, Lewis Hamilton just not having a great Grand Prix whatsoever. He is now out of the points on the medium tyres. And yeah, it's just not looking good at all for the 2015 World Champion. But now next up is Fernando Alonso. Of course, he has the Honda engine compared to Schumacher's Ferrari engine. So he should be able to close up, but he doesn't have DRS at this stage. He is still closing in, though, on Fernando Alonso. And will he be able to make a move into the hairpin? It'll be an audacious move from a long way back, but he manages to pull it off. What a move from Schumacher. No contact whatsoever. And the next man up the road is Valtteri Bottas, who, of course, will be making gains on the other cars ahead. The 7 cars ahead of him. But there you can see the gap, 6 seconds. It's just going to be surely too much for Schumacher to make up. But now on lap 20, we're going to take a look at the running order. So currently leading this Grand Prix is Max Verstappen, of course. And in P2, we have got Sergio Perez, who is still putting in a fantastic drive for Force India. And the final podium position is being taken up by Romain Grosjean, who is following Perez relatively closely. So the top 3 drivers all on a one-stop, as is that man, who is Esteban Ocon, currently occupying P4. So he started P11, but all the way up into P4. And currently in 5th position is Lance Stroll on the super soft tyres, but I do believe he has one more stop to make this afternoon. P6 is Carlos Sainz, so it was a poor qualifying from him on Saturday, but there you can see he's now being closed down by that man, Sebastian Vettel, who has recovered very well from his lap 1 incident. And then it's Valtteri Bottas, and then it is Michael Schumacher. So yeah, it's looking like a very difficult afternoon for the Ferrari man at the moment. But yeah, it's still 8 laps left in this Grand Prix, and now we go back to the action, and with Sebastian Vettel. So he's making a move on Carlos Sainz on lap 20, and also going for the move is Valtteri Bottas. So they're almost 3 wide going into the hairpin at turn 14. But it is Sebastian Vettel who emerges on top, with Valtteri Bottas, who is taking no prisoners at this stage. He's got fresh tyres, and you know, you'd probably put your money on Valtteri Bottas at the moment to get the best result of the Ferrari and Mercedes drivers. And now he is in hot pursuit of Sebastian Vettel. So I'm sure that Schumacher will be hoping that his teammate can do him a favour here. But it looks as if it's going to be to no avail, because going around the outside is Valtteri Bottas. He has the newer tyres. He has the better compound of tyres. But Vettel squeezing him right to the outside. And now he'll have the inside line on the next corner, will Bottas. And there you can see the cars up ahead. But it looks as if Valtteri Bottas has in fact come out on top. Yes, he has. He is up another position. I believe that is P5 or possibly No, it is P5. So, yeah, very good from him at the moment. And next up is the Force India of Esteban Ocon. And sure enough, on lap 22, he makes light work of him. Ocon also has the DRS, so very, very good for Bottas. Just showing that even though they have the same engine, he can do bits on the straight. So a little bit of a lock-up for Ocon. Of course, he managed to have a little bit of a battle with it was Lewis Hamilton, of course, last time out in Australia. So he's really mixing with the big guns at the moment. And now you can see going around the outside of Sergio Perez is Romain Grosjean going into turn 1. And he's made the move on him as we stay on board with Sebastian Vettel. And they are still going side by side. And there is 5 cars in succession at the moment. Who is going to come out on top is the question as they come through this section. And it is Romain Grosjean. He is up into a podium position, but I'm not sure for how long, because there you can see Valtteri Bottas is still trying to pounce. And sure enough, by the end of the lap, he's going to make a move now on Sergio Perez up into P4. Surely at turn 14, it's Bottas's favourite position, and he does go up into P4. So just Romain Grosjean stands between him and a podium position. And there you can see Schumacher in a hot pursuit of Carlos Sainz, also on lap 23. So, yeah, 5 laps left, and Schumacher is currently sitting on just 4 points if it stays like this. So, not looking like a great afternoon at the moment, but, of course, it could still all improve. He has the fresh tyres to get past these guys. You know, you've got the likes of Sainz, Ocon, Perez, Grosjean, all of which, you know, just... They're not the fastest cars by any stretch of the imagination. So, yeah, still hope for Schumacher. And it looks as if he has got the superior straight line speed on the ever-sparking Carlos Sainz. So he just goes down the inside now and up into P7. So, yeah, Schumacher and Bottas getting a lot of positions made up at that final hairpin. But now we go to the final corner, and we'll take a look to see what the gap is between Schumacher and Ocon, and it is 3 seconds at the moment. So going on to lap 24, and it looks as if Valtteri Bottas is going to move up into a podium position. Yes, he does. He gets ahead of Romain Grosjean. It's been a brilliant race from the Haas driver, and he is actually trying to fight back. But you can't do anything to stop Valtteri Bottas at turn 14 today. As Sebastian Vettel trying to go for a move up into P5, and he manages to do so up ahead of, is that Sergio Perez or Esteban Ocon? I couldn't quite tell, but nonetheless, it is one of the Force Indias. And yes, now you can see that Perez and Ocon have actually switched positions. So, of course, Perez actually started on the super soft tyres, meaning he's been on these medium tyres for a very long time, which would explain why he sort of dropped down the order considerably in the past few laps. Of course, he was occupying a podium position for quite a lot of this Grand Prix, but now he is down in P6, and Michael Schumacher trying to get a good run on him now. Going on to the main straight, once again onto the DRS, up into P6, so he is down into P7, Schumacher up into P6, so we've got Ocon in P5, and what a move that was. I think Schumacher actually just braked a little bit late, but he sort of improvised and turned it into an overtake somehow, so that is special from Michael Schumacher. And, in fact... Romain Grosjean is still sat in P4, even though Sebastian Vettel has overtaken him. So it's been quite a demise for the likes of Ocon and Perez. But there is the race leader, and he is retired. It's Max Verstappen, and it is a double retirement for Red Bull. There is drama on lap 27 of the Grand Prix, and after not the greatest Grand Prix of his career, it looks as if Valtteri Bottas has somehow... Well, he's managed to take the lead of this race with just 1 lap left. Romain Grosjean is back in position for a podium. And Sebastian Vettel is up into P2 after his lap 1 incident. Does anybody want to win this Grand Prix is the question. And now as we go on to the end of lap 27, Schumacher finally senses an opportunity to get onto the podium. It's been a poor strategy from Mercedes and a poor one from Ferrari. Obviously it was scuppered by the safety car. But it looks as if it is all fallen into place in the end. And if Schumacher could overtake Grosjean here, it would be an all Mercedes and Ferrari podium. And there's going to be no upset this afternoon by the looks of it. Grosjean locks up on his old tyres. Of course, they're about 16 laps old now. And going into the hairpin, he is locked up. Schumacher's up into a podium position. And who'd have thought, after the first lap of the Grand Prix, that Sebastian Vettel would be sitting 4.7 seconds ahead of Schumacher going into the final lap. So, very frustrating for Schumacher. But as we go now on to the final lap of the Grand Prix, he didn't really push on the final lap because, of course, there was no point You know, just got to try and nurse the car home. And coming round the final corner for quite an incredible race victory, his first one of his career, it's Valtteri Bottas who takes victory in Shanghai after a fantastic race. What a victory it is for him. Vettel takes P2 and P3 goes to the other German, Michael Schumacher. 15 points in the bag once again, but it's a story of what could have been for the definitely for that Ferrari, but also for Sebastian Vettel as well. But there you can see the man that won the Grand Prix. He overtook Vettel fair and square on the racetrack. Valtteri Bottas, 25 points for him, and even another poor strategy from Mercedes couldn't get him down. It couldn't stop him from winning, and it's probably because nobody really wanted to win that Grand Prix by the looks of it. Schumacher and Bottas had poor strategies. Vettel crashed on lap 1, and of course Lewis Hamilton had the ERS deployment issues for the entire Grand Prix, but just look how happy Valtteri Bottas is after that victory. And 25 points is going back to Brackley once again, and if Bottas and Hamilton could both have a good race, then Mercedes would be running away with this Constructors' Championship so far. But it may be 2 victories from 2 for Mercedes, but it looks as if Ferrari will still be leading the Constructors' standings when we take a look at them later. But there you can see the final race results. Of course, we've already covered the top 3. And Grosjean and Ocon, the 2 Frenchmen, occupy 4th and 5th, with Perez taking a 6th position, which he could have been, well, he knows could have been a lot better. Probably shouldn't have gone on to the one-stop strategy, seeing as he had to race so long on those medium tyres. Lewis Hamilton did take P8 in the end, so I think they must have fixed those deployment issues in the final part of the Grand Prix, because of course he finished ahead of Massa and Gasly, who took the final points. Verstappen and Ricciardo retired. Of course, we haven't even mentioned Max Verstappen. It was an easy victory for him, it seemed, but just couldn't convert it in the end. And there is the drivers' standing. So it's Vettel from Schumacher currently, even though they've only taken 2nd and 3rd in both the Grand Prix so far. Hamilton and Bottas are 3rd and 4th, with Esteban Ocon in 5th position currently, ahead of Max Verstappen. There you can see the Constructors' standings, so it's Ferrari ahead of Mercedes, but it is all to play for when we visit Bahrain next time out. We'll be there next Friday, so do make sure to join me then. If you have enjoyed this video, leave a like down below, comment your thoughts. I'll catch you then. Take care. Bye-bye.